G'day, welcome back to Fading Margins, and welcome back to my shed. Well, we're in here in the corner of this absolute disaster area, so I thought you might like to take a quick look at the contents of this ammo box. In this ammo box, because it's a new unissued ammo box, I keep all my reject knives. And I want to say from the start that apart from the ones that I say have got a fault, the rest of them, it's simply a case they're in here because I don't get on with them. Okay, so it's certainly a reflection on the manufacturer. It's just a reflection on, you meet some people and you get on really well with them. You meet other people who don't get on so well with them. You meet other people and you wouldn't cross the street to speak to them a second time. Yeah, so that's that sort of thing. So I thought you might like to have a quick look. So let's have a gander. Let's do let's do the fixed blades first. I've got only two fixed blades. Really, there's this one, which is a Mora, which is kind of sacrilege, really. I can't even tell you what it is. I think they kept that blade and put it on another model, but it came with this handle. I can't remember what they used to call it. I don't think they make it anymore. And the handle's really nice. I didn't get on with the blade. I think it's a kind of weird profile. I find this guard, whilst I like it in my hand, I don't like it in relationship to the blade. I'd always like to feel I can get up on the blade, and this, I don't know, I've got knives that are further away and feel better. Just doesn't fit me. So this one, I'm afraid, my son has one, my youngest son. He absolutely loved it. I don't know what he saw in it, but he said, "Can I have one of those?" I said, "Yeah, have one." So he liked it, but I didn't. So in the reject box. The other knife is made by the no longer existing Blind Horse Knives. This was called the Woodsman Pro or the Woodmaster or something. Anyway, I can't remember. Nice sort of drop point, sort of very traditional, quite heavy, classic sort of small American manufacturer, big slab of steel with an edge on it. With that fashion. Picarda handles, beautifully made. My only beef, why it's in the box. If you look at the profile on the handle at the back, it's really nice. It's plenty of chunk. There's no even that much is not going to. It's not going to be a 119, which is I think the best handle on any fixed blade ever. But it's not bad. But by the time you get up here, it starts to feel like you're starting to have to really bite down to get it locked in. And it just feels like it's floating around in your fist a bit, and I just couldn't tolerate it. It used to give me cramp in my somewhat large hands when I was working, and that's one thing if you're using a knife in extremis. Is another thing if you're going to be using it every day. But apart from that, it was fine, but I just couldn't live with it. So it ended up in the reject box. So that's the fixies. Now for the slippies. Let's start with the oldest first. I'm not even going to attempt to open this. This is people say it's a British Army. I think it's a Belgian Army 1950s clasp knife. You can see the spring is monstrous. I think it's possibly even worse than my old GEC. What didn't I like about it? I like the can opener very much. I much prefer this sort of stab it and work it can opener to the little one in the Swiss Army knives. Sorry guys, gotta call it. I don't really need one of these. And also the screwdriver sticks out the end, so if you carry it in your pocket, it tends to orientate that way because it's got a bail, which I like. But that cuts a hole in your pocket. Ask me how I know. So all those taken together, heavy, difficult to open, tools I don't need, pocket damaging. It had to go into the reject box. The next one, a Svord Peasant, baby peasant. Nothing wrong with the blade. Blade's nice. I don't like this here. This sort of sharpening choil. I'd much rather have the blade coming right back up in here. It just provides a sharp point whereby you could possibly end up nicking yourself, I think. Didn't really like the plastic handles, but they don't do like nice handles. I mean, they're either that funny orange wood or they're plastic. So you know, you get what you think, what you pay for. I drilled that out so that I could put a lanyard in it. But I think at the end of the day, it's the actual knife itself I didn't get on with because of this tang. You have to have it to keep the blade shut, open rather. But as I carry it in my pocket, you got this long thing sticking out all the time. If you put it in a sheath, then you got it in a sheath. I carry a Swiss Army knife sheath always. So there is, you know, unless I move to a country where I can carry a bigger knife, the Swiss Army knife's always going to be on the sheath. So I'd have to have some sort of dangler arrangement. It's just too much aggravation. It isn't going to happen. The next one is a hen and rooster. Bought this from Heine Haynes. No reflection on them. It said made in Germany, which of course it does. Well, it doesn't actually. It says German stainless steel. Is what it says. German stainless, handmade is what it says. It's a hen and rooster. I got it. I was a bit shocked at how shiny it is. That's very. It's either very highly polished or it's got a lot of chrome in it. It was very hard to get a decent edge on it. And it's got a modest edge on it now. And I just took a Guinness on those bases. Don't like shiny blades, never have. Like my blades to have a nice patina, satin finish. Right. So into the reject box it went. This one is a Masserin Scout. I think I've somewhat reprofiled this. I think there's something wrong with the tip. It's in D2. It's not a bad little knife actually. It's I'm having a sort of Hippick knife moment with it since I've opened the box. At the time I found that there was too much real estate between the end of the handle and the beginning of the cutting edge, and it made the whole knife feel really, really long. On reflection, perhaps I was too harsh, I don't know. Olive wood handles, not my favourite wood. Love olives, love olive oil. Not so fussed on the wood and the handles. Yeah, don't know. Anyway, that's the way it went. Maybe I'll give this one a second go. Then the oldest in the box is a Taylor Eyewitness sheep's foot. Bought this in a hardware shop in the Cotswolds when I used to live there. Sort of a faux, I don't know what it's meant to be. Faux bog oak, faux something. It's plastic handles basically. Metal bolsters, steel bolsters, which have rusted, but the blade hasn't rusted. It takes a reasonable edge. I carried it for a little bit. Didn't love it. Poor thing. But as you can see, it's perfectly serviceable. That's a case of a knife that just didn't speak to me, so it ends up in the reject box, but it doesn't have any inherent faults. Then we got a couple of pairs of twins. This is the can't remember what they call this, but this is from. It's got a warthog on it or a boar on it. This is from the Bushcraft store here in the UK. Some sort of nylon, I think, plastic handles. It's a sort of a slip joint folder meets Bushcraft knife. Didn't come. This is one of the originals. It didn't come with a nail nick, which bothered me incessantly because it's quite hard to open if your hands are wet. And spring action can do with a little bit of titivating. But on the whole, they're well made. Made in Europe somewhere, so they say, but they won't say where. This is the upgraded version. This has got walnut scales, or covers if you want to go down that road, if that's what you call them. Has a nail nick. I'm not a huge fan, I have to say, of scanty grinds, except on, say, something like the Mora, the original Mora's Mora made 01s, like the Johnson ones. They're very, very slim. So the profile is merely a sharpening guide, whereas with something that's a bit thicker, this is probably 2 or 3 mil thick, you're starting to get a lot of steel behind the edge. And like I said, so again, just not my thing. I should have learned the first time, but I didn't. I guess I must be stupid. And speaking of being stupid and bitten twice, here's another pair. This is the Buck Stockman. This is the Buck Stockman. This is the in black, the US made version, and this is the same knife in the rosewood or the cocobolo and brass, and they're both in here for the same reason. But the springs are just, the back springs are just diabolical on both of them, and it's an absolute crying shame. US made, they don't feel safe, and it'll be really nice to be able to have a pocket knife that's a slip joint folder that was made by Buck Knives, but it won't be these two. Then the rest is, I think, the rest is just a collection of Rough Riders. There's nothing wrong with this. This is a Barlow. Well, there is aesthetically a few things wrong with it. If you look, where's the camera? There it is. If you look carefully there, you can see that they started to chamfer the edges. They do that a lot now, which is perhaps one of the reasons I don't buy Rough Riders anymore. Completely unnecessary in a folder that size. Pointless. Don't know why they do it. But yeah, it's a little Rough Rider. I've got the plain bone handle, and that's still in my box. So this one's just out here because it's just out here. Then I've got a few that are still in their boxes that I've fiddled with, so I can't send them back, but I won't open all of these now, save time. This is a Premium Select. It's like a little twin blade. Is it twin blade? Yeah, it's a little twin blade. It's got a clip point at one end, and it's got a spay blade, I think, on the other. It's a nice little item. A little mother of pearl in there. It's very pretty, but the spring action is pretty atrocious. I mean, that works okay, but it doesn't actually snap open. And then you try to sort it out, and you find, oh well, it's too late now, I can't send it back. So fortunately with these, they weren't that pricey at the time I bought them, because they've been in this box for some time. And then there's the Big Stockman. I won't waste your time with that. And then this one, this is a case of, I bought it because I thought at the time, well, yeah, that might be an interesting knife to have. This is the Rough Rider Whittler, and well, frankly, I think it was sub a tenner at the time, so ridiculously cheap, and it's a serviceable knife, but not for me at all. So it ended up out here too. Perhaps I'll give it to somebody one day. Of course, the other two I can't give to anybody, so I don't know what to do with them. Right, so that's it for today. That's the collection of my rejects. As I say, for the vast majority of them, is not to do with the knife, it's just to do with the confluence between what I'm looking for, what I like, and what the knife and the manufacturer is able to offer. In other cases, the knife has a fault that I personally find intolerable, and so it has to go. Right, thank you very much for watching. It's always fun bringing this stuff to you. I enjoy the comments. I hope you'll continue to participate in the conversation, as I call it. And until we meet again, this is Steve from Fatty Margins, wishing you all health, happiness, and every blessing. And I'm signing off for now. Bye bye.